Alright, hello gamers, and welcome to another PlayStation 30th Anniversary Reaction Specials. We're having an opportunity to look at the celebration that Sony did. Basically a unique way to celebrate the launch of the PlayStation 5 in 2020. So, obviously, for the launch of the PS5, I believe this is for the American launch, or I think it might be for the worldwide launch of the PS5, or actually after the launch dates of the PS5. I believe it might be related to the UK launch of the PS5 because I don't think they did this for the US launch. I think they only did this for the launch week of the US, of the UK and Europe. But essentially, to celebrate the launches of the PS5, Sony did this whole projection screen celebration where they showed different parts of the world that had these projections that they made of the PS5, DualSense controller, etc. To basically, and also the PlayStation logos and symbols and shapes, by the way, triangle, circle, X, and square, to basically have a way to promote the PS5 in a more unique way to promote the PS5 without having people running in the streets celebrating PS5 because people had to stay in their homes because of rules and stuff. So they did this whole projection screen thing to basically just have a way to celebrate the PS5 in 2020. And it was really, really cool they did this because they also did a screen in London, which you'll see in this video, where they, in Trafalgar Square in Regent Street, they had this like projection showing the DualSense controller bouncing around the screen, and also the console was moving around that section of the screen. Which basically they have a screen in London where you can project different things that move around, and they had that whole section dedicated to PS5 that year, which was really, really cool. They did that, and they do that. Yeah, they tend to do it for like big launches and big things that are going to be announced. And Sony was allowed to get away with having the PS5 stuff in there, which was really cool. So, without further ado, this is the global launch celebration video they captured, capturing all the different projection stuff that they got from all the different regions around the world who were celebrating the PS5 with this projection screen of like PS5 and the PlayStation shapes and the DualSense controllers, the HD camera, etc., to help promote the PS5. So this is their unique way of celebrating the global launch of the PS5. So take a look at this. So cool, isn't it? And this is a real world thing, by the way. There's the London one. Oh, I think no. That wasn't the London one. Yeah, I think that's the London one. I'm pretty sure that was. So yeah, the London one is the one where it says UK. So basically, the one with Boots and Gap as the store underneath the projection screen, that's the UK one. That's the one in London, which is where they had the whole projection in London. But as you can see in some of the locations here, we've got New Zealand, South Korea, Japan. Obviously, Japan has been used in quite a few games in Sony's history, including Ghost of Tsushima, and obviously the sequel is going to be having a section of Japan in the game next year. Calendar, Mexico, USA. There was a USA thing in there. Taiwan, Singapore, Saudi Arabia apparently was in there. The United Elbrin is in there. Norway, France, Poland, Germany. Let's have a look at other locations. What other locations? We've got Asia, Switzerland, Netherlands, Caesar Republic, Sweden, Ireland, Italy, Chile, Brazil, and Argentina. All these countries came together and did this whole projection screen to celebrate the PS5, which just goes to show, like, the fact that Sony had connected all these towns with this projection screen, even though most projection screens were a bit more unique than others. For instance, the Japan one had that whole walkway as a projection screen, and then you have the Singapore had that whole tower decorated with PS5 themes, and then Germany had that arena, or one of their new arenas, decorated with the PS5 symbols and stuff. So it's really cool that each town had their own unique display for PS5, which was really clever. But either way, it just gives you a glimpse at how cool Sony were in 2020. Despite the pandemic, they were still doing these cool displays to help promote the PS5 in 2020, and I love that. I love that they did this. Really, really cool. PlayStation. So yeah, so that was the that's just a glimpse at the PS5, pretty much the launch day of the PS5, or the global launch of the PS5, and the celebration that Sony did in these countries to help promote the PS5 launch, which is crazy. Yeah, you could just imagine. Well, obviously, the PlayStation 6, when that launches, luckily we're able to go to a store to get. Well, we'll be able to luckily go to a store to pick up. To be at our favorite stores to get a PS5 to celebrate the launch that way, which is the traditional way of getting a console at launch day, which is what I did with the PSP when I went to town to get my PSP at the time when it came out. But so luckily we're going to be able to do that with the PS6. Well, even though things are going to be slightly different with the PS6, because not many people are going to want to stay up to be at the launch of the PS6, even though some will want to do that. Some are going to, get it during the day, or probably get it delivered. Luckily, they won't have their. Luckily, if there's one thing I hope the PS6, hopefully one thing that I hope that Amazon will do with the PS6 and future console launches is to make sure that people's packages don't get stolen. Because that's one thing that happened in the PS5, is that people had their PS5 their packages stolen and switched to different items. Hopefully that won't happen with the PS6. Hopefully we could avoid that with the PS6. Fingers crossed. Hopefully they'll have better protocols in place to make sure that doesn't happen for people who wanted a PS5, obviously. But, for those who are obviously going to generally want a PS6, hopefully people's packages won't get stolen this time around. Fingers crossed that will not happen. But, so we'll see what happens. Hopefully things will be a little bit calmer with the PS6 launch, hopefully. But nevertheless, that is the launch of the global celebration launch they did for the PS5 to give you a sense of basically what the global launch of the PS5 was like in 2020 in a pandemic year, which obviously the PS6 will hopefully not have that problem because obviously we're out of the pandemic now, so of course things are going to be hopefully not too restrained when it comes to PS6, even though the way we pick up consoles habits will most likely change with the PS6. So yeah, but nevertheless, that is the global launch celebration that Sony did in 2020 to celebrate the PS5 launch in the pandemic year, which is what kicked off the PS5 year, well, the PS5 generation of gaming. So yeah, and of course, I mean, I've got my PS5 still here. You can obviously hear it. I mean, I've had the original since 2021, so hopefully I can keep this running until PS6. That's the plan. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I will catch you all in my next PlayStation 30th anniversary reaction, where we'll react to some past PlayStation trailers. So see you then. And also, I'll have some more PlayStation 5 gameplay coming up as well. So.